Hello everyone, it's Attacker72 here, and for today. So, I'm a bit late on this topic, and I know it has been a couple weeks now since it had passed, but it's better late than never if anything. But it has been a couple weeks since the presentation had happened, which was notably also a big anniversary for their big mascot, being obviously the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. Mario reaching 40 years of content is definitely a huge milestone, and in the presentation, the first 20 to 25 minutes was mostly focusing on the 40th anniversary, and there definitely was some mixed reactions towards the entirety of how they celebrated this presentation. About a couple months ago, before this event had happened, obviously I had made a video that was talking about the potential ideas and reveals that they would show for this 40th anniversary. Since it had been 5 years since the 35th had occurred, there was definitely a bit of some skepticism of how they would handle this anniversary, because in that video I stated that Nintendo doesn't really know how to celebrate their franchise properly at times. The 35th and the 30th are kind of big examples of that, but regardless, in this video I just want to be going through a bit of a recap and to really see whether or not this anniversary was, if anything, an improvement from the 35th, and to see whether or not this is better than all of the other anniversary celebrations that we were given. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video regardless. This is just my own thoughts and opinions on how I feel about how Nintendo celebrated this whole thing, because, you know, reaching 40 years is like no joke. This is a huge milestone for the company, and some have stated that this presentation and the way they handled the 40 was either kind of bad or good, probably in the middle of things, but that's just all I want to go over. And we're going to be going from like small titles all the way to obviously the big ones at the end. I won't really talk about the events, just as, you know, I think a lot of people mostly care about the games the most. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm just gonna stop rambling and really start off with this one question: did Nintendo improve with their celebration with the 40th anniversary compared to their last celebration being the 35th, or just any of their past celebrations before this? In a way, in terms of content and how they handle things, I gotta say that it is improved slight a bit. The reason I say that was that while the 35th did give us a bit of some games and especially accessories such as the Mario Game & Watch and Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, and obviously 3D All-Stars, there was a bit of an issue from the fact that they were only limited time. And I get Nintendo has done limited things before, like they did with like the 15th to 20th anniversary, but for the 35th, it was basically lock in 3 major 3D Mario games in this era, and then basically not selling them again after a specific date. That's kind of what made fans mad about this 35th anniversary to begin with. Doesn't really help that like the years that came alongside after that was that it gives us way more content that feels more like an actual anniversary than the actual anniversary itself. But the 40th, I will say, has no limited releases, which thankfully that's not really the case. I'm so glad about that. But the 40th anniversary did at least gives us quite a bit of content in terms of the accessories, but also the most notably the games. But before I even get to that, obviously there was a bit of a issue when it came to the 40th anniversary to some fans, and that was the fact of the lack of 3D Mario. And to be fair, I can see why some were disappointed about that, given that it has been 8 years since Odyssey had come out, and now we're in a new era of Nintendo with the Switch 2, which admittedly it has been getting a lot of criticism lately. I must say that even though I am a bit bummed that we aren't getting a 3D Mario game for like another few years or so, I'm fine with waiting. There's still a lot more games that are coming along in 2026, and not to mention, with this 40th anniversary, there's still a ton of content that Nintendo has shown us, even though there's no 3D Mario game. If anything, the upcoming spin-offs and even some of the other titles that are coming alongside with it, and especially the big movie that will be coming in 2026, is still not a huge benefactor that is really great compared to what the 35th had given us. I mean, when it comes to its celebration, not to mention 2023 and 2024 had given us a lot of Mario content that has never been seen at all. Mario Wonder, Mario RPG Remake, Thousand Year Door Remake, Princess Peach's Showtime, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. That's still, if not a huge amount of Mario content that was given, despite, you know, not having a 3D Mario game. Would I honestly be excited if they had shown it off? Oh, absolutely. But patience takes a while, and when the time comes, whenever Nintendo is really ready to show us their next big 3D Mario title, I'm going to be ready for it. Regardless, that game is likely going to be really good in a good 4K resolution, because that's what the Switch 2 is all about. But with that, the question out of the way, we actually now have to talk about what is part of the 40th anniversary. Now, to start things small, we had the reveal of the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 edition plus meetup in Bella Bella Park. Quite a mouthful, I will say, but nonetheless, Mario Wonder getting a free upgrade, or well, more so a Switch 2 upgrade, was pretty surprising. A lot of people were generally expecting a free update like they did with Mario Odyssey when the Switch 2 had launched, which, okay, I mean, that was fair, but this being a Switch 2 upgrade was pretty surprising to me, to be honest. And out of all of the things, this one has the most potential to be good. Out of all the Switch 2 updates that have been given, you know, upgrades and all that, Kirby in the Forgotten Land was by far, if not the best one we were given so far. Jamboree was definitely kind of mid at best, and some of the $10 ones I don't really have much of an opinion about, but Switch 2 edition with Mario Wonder has quite a lot of potential. While the game is great, there were some things that were kind of lacking, but Meetup in Bella Bella Park was notably this game's big multiplayer mode, having some small elements and additions and some surprising references that I didn't think would come back, like the mask from Mario Bros 2 of all things, which is really cool to see. And not to mention, they kind of skimmed over this, but the fact that they gave us a sudden reveal of the Koopalings returning was quite great, and the fact that they just straight up not talked about it is pretty hilarious to me. And also Captain Toad as well. I didn't even notice Captain Toad the first time when I saw him, so the fact that we're seeing these two characters, well, these specific amount of characters, is very surprising. Since Mario Wonder's bosses were kinda okay and kinda mid at best, I do hope the Koopalings were given at least some more creative liberties when it comes to the bosses, because that's basically what made a lot of people not like the Koopalings in 2D Mario games. It's just the fact that not only do they just feel the same, it's the fact that they appear so often that people were starting to get tired of it. But Mario Wonder has a potential to make these characters and bosses really interesting, especially with all the creative stuff that was given into Wonder. And another thing that a lot of people have noticed when they didn't see it the first time was the small reveal of Rosalina being in Wonder. It's kind of brief, but it was shown in the very corner of the game whenever you're in Bella Bella Park, and you see this small little character model of Rosalina, which now basically confirms that yes, Rosalina will indeed be added as a playable character. She was one of the characters that so many people were really expecting to be added, and I don't blame them. She is a really likable character, and with all the Galaxy content that we're getting along the way, I can see why they decided to add her as, you know, an additional character for Wonder's Switch 2 upgrade. If you're kind of doubting whether or not this isn't worth the $20, because, well, you know, with other big upgrades like Kirby in the Forgotten Land and Jamboree, this has to have some potential to be worth $20 after all. And to kind of end things off with Mario Wonder, we have a new figurine with the addition of the Talking Flower. As the name implies, it is a talking flower that talks whenever it speaks in any place whenever you bring it. It has like a few limited voice lines though, but hey, the fact that the Talking Flower has been getting a lot more appearances as of lately is pretty intriguing to me, to be honest. But overall, that's all the things that I could really mention for Mario Wonder. Now, this next reveal gave me a bit of a chuckle, and that was because of how ironic it was. The reason I say that, because remember what I said earlier about the fans being disappointed that Mario didn't get a new 3D game despite it being the 40th anniversary? Well, that didn't exactly help when the new Yoshi title was revealed, and to be fair, I did not really expect this, and Yoshi getting a new game was definitely a nice surprise, given that Yoshi hasn't gotten a new game since like Yoshi's Crafted World in 2019. But overall, this game is definitely interesting to say the least. This will be releasing in the spring of 2026 by the title of Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and while it is basically just your typical Yoshi platformer from what we have seen so far, I have to say the biggest compliment I could say about the Mysterious Book is that the game's art style is amazing. While it did show some pretty normal cutscenes outside of it, when you get into the gameplay portion by itself, my god does it look incredible. The game itself feels like you're reading a storybook. The fact that it kind of gives me so much vibes from Yoshi's story for the N64 is definitely what makes this kind of stand out from the last Yoshi games. Like Yoshi's Woolly World was really beloved by fans. Crafted World was kind of seen as average from some, and Mysterious Book, while definitely average at first, it definitely feels like it has a lot of potential because of the art style alone. The only issue to me has got to be the gameplay, because while the art style and the direction that they're going is really great, I'm not sure about the gameplay itself. It is like your basic platformers with like a few gimmicks, but nothing about it really stands out from any other Yoshi title, and that's kind of what bothers me most about the Mysterious Book. But I'll wait for like a couple more months before they give us more information, because I find this one to be pretty intriguing. And you know, since the fact that Yoshi is getting a new game and not really part of the 40th anniversary that is focused on Mario is what I find pretty ironic and hilarious. Now, the next game, while it wasn't part of the 40th anniversary announcement, it is still, if not a huge integral part to Mario's history, and that is Donkey Kong, as they had revealed the DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza being DK Island and Emerald Rush. Now, this is sort of where the problem kind of starts when it came to the 40th anniversary. I may have given a lot of compliments to Yoshi and the Mysterious Book and Melabell Park. My issue with Bonanza specifically was actually the DLC itself. Now, I love Donkey Kong Bonanza. It is one of my favorite games from Nintendo's recent releases. It is a really good pickup for your Switch 2 if you haven't bought that console yet. The issue here when it came to Bonanza's DLC is that it's paid, and as much as I do want to get DK Bonanza DLC at all, the problem here is that it should have just never been paid to begin with. The way DK Island and Emerald Rush was even handled really feels like this should have been a free update to begin with. Kind of like what they did with Mario Odyssey when they added Luigi's Balloon World, but now you basically have to pay for it. This is the equivalent of locking the Mushroom Kingdom for Mario Odyssey, even though it should have never been locked behind DLC to begin with. That's basically what DK Island feels like because of it. Because, I mean, this was an island that feels like it should have been added as a free update, and as I said, Emerald Rush, from what I have seen, doesn't really have much to do other than like breaking a lot of stuff and getting a specific rank in and earning things like costumes and statues, and that's just about it. I love Bonanza so much, but this is definitely where the problem kind of starts when it comes to this 40th anniversary celebration, because this should have never been DLC. It's the fact that it's also $20 is what makes this kind of outrageous to begin with. You can buy Silksong for just the same price than an update that feels like that should have been free to begin with, and that's like the only thing I could really say when it comes to a negative part about the 40th anniversary. And I guess another small negative I want to give was the next game title that it showed off, a spin-off title being the next Mario Tennis game, Mario Tennis Fever. Mario Tennis Fever, I mean, Mario Tennis is like one of their most popular spin-off titles when it comes to Mario spin-offs in general. I mean, when you make a Mario spin-off, there's always going to be tennis in some way, shape, or form, and Aces was a pretty good game, and I had played it a few hours and, you know, played the story mode for a bit. You know, I enjoyed the additional characters and all that. That's what I really liked about Mario Tennis Aces. With Mario Tennis Fever, the biggest gimmick is that you have different rackets, and having these types of fever abilities, which can lead you to different types of abilities. And not just that, you got some different modes that feels kind of the equivalent to Mario Power Tennis, which I really love the different side modes that they were given. That's basically what they're doing with Mario Tennis Fever. And we got ourselves an official story mode where the Mario characters become babies, and the fact that I'm seeing an actual canon Waluigi was really weird. I mean, seeing so many fan edits of a baby Waluigi after all this time is definitely kind of weird to see this be actually official for a Mario game by itself, but hey, at least they actually gave a reason for why the Mario characters became babies to begin with, but you know they're somehow going to make this separate to begin with. But as I mentioned before, I think the biggest negative about Mario Tennis Fever has got to be the pricing. With Donkey Kong Bonanza's DLC, it was $20. It should have been free, obviously. Tennis Fever's biggest problem is the pricing, because why is this $70? Like, I would have not minded the same quality as like Bonanza being $70, but Tennis Fever being the same pricing as like all of the other AAA titles that came before it is what definitely confuses me the most. I mean, it's tennis. It's not really much to go over. I don't hate Mario Tennis. It's actually one of my favorite Mario sports titles, but I don't know why it's the same pricing as Bonanza of all things. That's a bit of a negative, but also kind of a like ironic hilarity to me, because there's just no way it's in the same pricing range as Bonanza or any of their upcoming titles at all. But really, Tennis Fever is definitely cool at like by conception, but I think a big worry I have about this is that they're likely going to be doing another free update stance like they did with the last Mario Sports title. Strikers was done pretty dirty because of it, and Mario Golf Super Rush was indeed a rush game, and Aces was like the only Mario Sports title that came on the Switch that benefited from the whole free update thing, but I'm really worried that they would likely do the same thing for Tennis Fever. And now we get to the big highlight of the 40th anniversary, and that is all of the Galaxy content that they have shown us within like the first 20-ish minutes of the presentation. Now, I know some are definitely indifferent towards Galaxy nowadays, but there is a reason why they even chose Galaxy for this presentation, or even for this anniversary to be exact. Obviously, Galaxy is like one of the best titles to come from Nintendo's catalog, and by far one of their best titles to come from the Mario franchise at all. I mean, before Odyssey had released, Galaxy was considered, if not a timeless classic, that many associate their childhood with. And not just that, I mean, it is a game that even to this day really aged well. I mean, this was the time when the Wii was at its peak, and this being on the Wii at the time was definitely revolutionary. The controls were really nice and smooth, the story was pretty cool for a Mario title, and the fact that it looks visually beautiful for a Wii game is what makes Galaxy stand out a lot, and I can see why they even chose this for this 40th anniversary. Does it get milked a ton every so often? Oh yeah, absolutely, but Galaxy is popular for a reason, even before Mario Odyssey was even a thing. But the first thing was the Mario Galaxy movie, which will be releasing in April of 2026. This is the obvious sequel to the Mario Bros. Movie that released back in 2023, and I gotta say, I'm definitely a bit mixed about this, because I just gotta kind of get this sort of whiplash that we suddenly go from the land of the Mushroom Kingdom all the way to space of all things. I get that the Lumily was also referenced a few times in Galaxy, but the fact that we're even seeing this and then suddenly going into space within the sequel is what I find pretty hilarious and kind of a bit of a whiplash, to say the least. Now, I am kind of wondering as to how they're going to be writing the plot this time, or even how they'll get into space this time. So far, the only things we know is that it's going to be a Mario Galaxy movie. It'll be releasing in next year in April, and most of the cast will be returning from the first movie, except for Seth Rogen and Fred Armisen, who played Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong in the first one. They seem to not be in there for some reason, which will likely indicate a possible Donkey Kong movie in the future. We may never know, but the one thing I really do hope that Nintendo and Illumination had improved upon has got to be the writing and the plot. As much as I really love the first Mario movie, and I mean, and a fan standpoint, I really love it because of how much it references many of Mario's past histories within like its 40 years of, you know, franchises and all the different games that it had released. The issue is that I feel like some plot elements kind of feels Illumination-like, given that they kind of just went over things pretty fast, how characters like Luigi was sort of underdeveloped in a way, and that they kind of skim over things too fast to the point where it feels like it doesn't feel complete. I get it, it's a kids movie. A lot of people are going to love the Mario movie because it's Mario, but I do hope that the Galaxy movie does at least have a bit of a plot as to, you know, why it's there, aside from, you know, referencing Galaxy for the 40th time or something. But yeah, that's kind of what I hope about this. But the reason why Galaxy is also getting the movie is that they basically explain why, and that's because alongside the Mario Galaxy movie, we got the announcement of the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 collection, which as of recording this, it is currently out for the Nintendo Switch and is compatible for the Switch too. And on the eShop charts, it's actually selling pretty well, and that's because the eShop charts shows Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 being number 1, while Mario Galaxy 2 separately is also number 3 on the digital eShop charts, which is surprising, but it definitely has garnered a bit of a mixed reaction because of this. And given that it was announced back in September and how this was the big 40th anniversary title, there was a lot of reception towards this, most notably from the fact that Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 is ported once again. And to be fair, I can kind of see why, and really it's because of the recent gaming landscape that has been happening lately, with games and consoles becoming more expensive, and Nintendo as of lately has become a bit more frustrating with their business practices, with their Switch 2 titles becoming more expensive, with games being $70. With Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 specifically, not only are these titles ported from the Wii, it's the fact that those games are costing $70 for both of these games. Now granted, you can get both Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 separately, which is around $40, but that is still expensive even to this very day. And the thing about it though is that while those are a bit of a big major issues for a lot of fans, especially from Nintendo, since, you know, it has become very frustrating when it comes to these business practices, I can kind of see why this was ported to begin with to the Switch, because the thing about it though is that a lot of people tend to forget this. Not a lot of people grew up with the Wii. Not everyone grew up with a Wii or even owned one or even played Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and game preservation is always important. And the thing about it though is that as time goes on, games either become more rare hard to buy or that they were pretty impossible to get due to how very expensive they are to see in terms of scalpers and other parts of the internet, that you just might not be able to play these games at all without having to pirate it. And Nintendo as of lately has been very much against piracy, and and I kind of just want to say that please don't pirate the games. I get it's frustrating, but this is just not the way to go. And I do kind of find it funny in retrospect was because of another title that came with the 35th anniversary specifically, and that was the Mario 3D All-Stars. A lot of people didn't like 3D All-Stars, not because from the fact that it was emulated pretty wrong, and also because of the idea that it is a limited release for like a few months, but it's the fact that it includes things that honestly feels kind of pointless now, given that there are now more options to play these games. Mario 64 is now being able to play it on the N64 collection, while Mario Sunshine is coming soon to the GameCube collection. But all there was left was Mario Galaxy, so what better way they could have done it is by adding Mario Galaxy. But another issue with 3D All-Stars was that they didn't include Galaxy 2 at all, so they decided to just kind of put these titles together as like a way to sort of give us a sort of forgiveness after what happened with the 3D All-Star situation. But that's kind of about it, really. And not to mention, as I said, it's because for those that may not have been able to play Galaxy 1 or 2 back then, this may be their chance to get their first exposure into playing it, and I can see why. Game preservation is usually important, and while it is frustrating that this is basically the way to do this, it is sort of a double-edged sword in my opinion. Now, alongside Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, coming soon we got the release of the Mario Galaxy amiibo for Mario and Luma and Rosalina, which don't actually come today. They won't release until like April of 2026, which is definitely insane to say the least. But as of right now, you can also get an official Rosalina storybook, which includes pages that are from the actual game. And that's another thing I want to mention. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 will also include new storybook pages that wasn't from the original title, so I guess that's cool, but that's basically it for the 40th anniversary of the Mario Bros. Series. While it definitely is improved in terms of quality, I can definitely say that it's definitely kind of a mix of the pros from the Mario 35th of the Mario 30th anniversary, and also many of the cons that came from the 35th anniversary. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a good bit, and do I honestly think it's better? I think in a way. It has some good games this time, and it actually feels like there's a lot more that showed up than what they did with the 35th, but overall there were some issues that I did have to point out to at least to some that have been pretty much frustrated about. But I want to know your thoughts and opinions down below about what you think about the 40th anniversary. Do you think it's a better one than the 35th, or do you think it could have just been better? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below about this. And so with that, leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more videos, follow my Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember this, once a legend, always a legend.